Hi, this is Tappa, and I will be going through some tips and tricks how to fly the jet. So let's get it started. One of the fundamental tips and tricks when dogfighting and generally using a jet, especially in dogfighting, is using the sun to your advantage. As you can see, well, actually you can't see anything because you're facing the sun. What do you think happens to your opponent when you're facing the sun? He can't see your jet because he's staring directly at the sun. And that is a pretty good way of dodging other jets, especially when you're fighting 2 versus 1, or even fighting against a more skillful opponent. Another tip I would try to give you is probably flying at low altitudes. As you might have noticed in Battlefield, there's a perk for jet called Below Radar, and it's permanent and you don't have to select it. So what this does is flying at an altitude of about this high will allow your jet not to be locked by a missile. And even if it does, your missiles tend to go right before they hit your jet, they tend to go below the jet, unless you're ascending. Then they go straight into your cockpit for some reason, but hopefully that will be nerfed or buffed, whatever you call it, or fixed. Another tip I would probably give you is how to turn. The general way of turning is just facing 90 degrees or perpendicular to the earth, and just start turning by pulling your mouse backwards or your joystick backwards. A faster way to make a pull is by descending at the same time. So you can strafe left and right using your back wings, or whatever you call it. I'm not a actual jet pilot, so I don't really know what they're called. But this little movement allows you to descend while you're facing perpendicularly. It also allows you to make faster turns. So in conjunction with the pulling back and descending, you get much faster turns at about 300 speed. And any more tips and tricks? Well, one more would be using objects to your advantage. As you're turning, dodging a missile, you can always look backward and see if anybody's following you. And if they are, you can use objects to your advantage. They might fly right into it if they're not using third view. Or the missiles will hit it. My second perk, if you guys are wondering, is a guided missile. It works really well. The only problem is it does only 35 damage to a tank up front, and about 50 damage or 51 damage to the back of the tank. I use it in conjunction with beam scanning because it allows much faster locking. But if you're playing on the server which doesn't have that many vehicles, I would either recommend heat seekers, which also lock faster with in conjunction with beam scanning, or I would use rocket pads. Rocket pads work really well against both infantry and vehicles, because they don't require any locking. Extinguisher versus flares. I think, personally, extinguisher is better as a skillful pilot. Not that I'm considering myself a skillful pilot, but relatively skillful. Because when playing on normal, it allows your jet to get above 50%. And if you're disabled and you use extinguisher, you will no longer be disabled, allowing you to continue the fight. And it's especially useful when dogfighting. But when you're facing a lot of ground forces that use stingers and AA guns especially, I would probably use flares instead, because the amount of rockets that are coming towards you is usually very excessive. Another way to dodge them, of course, is the ECM jammer. But with the ECM jammer, I find it not consistent, and some people will still get a lock on you before the ECM jammer kicks in. And hopefully they'll they'll fix this bug. As you can see, I'm trying to follow this jet. I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's not doing much. And he outturned me because my speed was higher than 300. There's an enemy jet taking off, but hopefully he's not gonna shoot me. What more can I add? Using stealth in conjunction, instead of belt speed or beam scanning, is very useful in conjunction with flares, because it allows your jet to dodge missiles fairly easy, increasing the locking time substantially, even though it doesn't seem like it at first. Somebody trying to lock on me, they're just suicide. That's the way to do it. But that's about it for this tutorial. Thank you very much, and please subscribe.